Good morning, everyone. Hello, hello. My name is Jennifer Waters, and I am part of the CNY fertility team. Happy to be here. Happy Wednesday morning. We are live. A couple things before I get into today's topic, which is about the second uh, part of your menstrual cycle, which is really, I think, probably the most important time from ovulation through the luteal phase to day one. Very important time for you to optimize egg quality and also prevent recurring pregnancy loss. Well, before we do that, I would just like to take a moment and say it is a waxing moon today. We just had our new moon and we are on our way up to the full moon, which is a good time to receive things that you want. It is the time to manifest your dreams, wishes, and desires. So just go for it. Hopefully in a non-selfish way, but it is the time to manifest what you want. It is better to think about what you want instead of what you don't want, right? And that's what we're all working on. It is the time of Virgo. We just finished the Leo time of the summer. Now we are in the Virgo season. What does that mean? I don't know too much. I'm not an astrologer or anything, but it is the time of more rules, more structure, possibly more discipline, and what I think of as perfection, which is an important word. I think we don't want to be perfectionistic, and yet we want to be precise in what we're doing and clear about what we're trying to manifest. It's also the time of the late summer, which means in Chinese medicine, this is the season of the spleen and stomach. My favorite season. It's the best time of the year, I think. We have accumulated a lot of heat from the summer. If you live in the Northeast or wherever you live in the North American continent, we have had a hot, damp summer, and that affects us internally. So, this is the time. Remember what I always say, we're preparing now for the next season. If you want to have a good fall, you have to take care during this late summer, right? So what does that mean? It means clearing out excess heat and damp from the body. How do we do that? First of all, make the decision you're going to do that. Second, notice, do you feel hot? Do you feel irritated? Do you have skin issues? It could be anything from poison ivy, which remember, yes, you're allergic to it, but it's the damp heat constitution or condition that you're in that allows that to really proliferate. I'm an expert in contracting poison ivy. So if you have any questions about it, you can reach out to me. Oh, luckily this year I don't have any, but there's plenty of time for that. So um what else? Yeah, so if you have symptoms of heat, clear them out with diet, with targeted supplements. Swimming, this is still a good time. Get in the water. It's cooling down at night. So the water, wherever, if you're near lakes up here in central New York, we have wonderful lakes, whether it's Janesville Reservoir or the beautiful Skaneateles Lake, get your body in there. It's like the cold plunge. It helps with inflammation. It helps with circulation. It helps cool you down from the inside out. So it's one of my favorite things to do this time of year to just help that natural process, because we are preparing for a good fall. And in the fall, we're going to prepare for a good winter. So every season has its little bit of magic, I call it, benefits for us. The more we can live in tune with our environment, the better off we're going to be, and really try to enjoy it. The season of the spleen is also a good time to meditate. What weakens our spleen, which can lead to a lot of issues, a lot of bruising, excess bleeding, irregular periods, hormone imbalance is all connected to the spleen, digestive issues, bloating, indigestion. I'm sure none of you have any of that, right? Everybody has perfect digestion. But in case you don't, remember to make changes, it begins with our lifestyle first. Okay. We're all, myself included, we're quick to jump to the pill, the powder, the lotion, whatever it is. But let's take a step back and remember lifestyle matters first. Are you taking time to take a few breaths before you eat? Are you creating an environment of calm in your house? You can play music that's healing. Sound therapy, we now know, is affecting us on a cellular level. This isn't just woo woo out there, crazy science. No, this is proven that your environment is affecting your nervous system, which controls your endocrine system. So, creating calm will help. The number one thing I wanted to say that weakens the spleen is overthinking, worry, rumination. Again, what did I say in the beginning? Let's manifest what we want instead of focusing on what we don't want. So, you know, the saying, worry is praying for what you don't want, right? So, let's try to not do that. Neutral or above is the plan. So, and one other quick thing I want to say, a lot of my friends and associates are sick, whether it's bronchitis or COVID or some other upper respiratory issue. A lot of people are sick. So, my heart goes out to you. Know that you're not alone. Okay. But here's what I really want you to do. Okay. Take the targeted supplements. I created a list. Email me if you want it, of a couple key things that are going to help to balance the pH in your blood. You want it to be a little bit acidic in order for it to be antibacterial, antiviral. A couple targeted supplements that's going to support your thymus, support your overall immune system, and one or two things that are going to help take down inflammation. Okay. So what happens is, even though you feel like crap and you're going through this, what I call the tunnel, the journey to the end, where you do see the light, you will recover, you will get better. When you take these targeted supplements and combine with phototherapy, if you can swing it, when you're adding on the glutathione patch, you're adding on the stem cell patch, you're adding on the Eon patch for inflammation, what happens is, at the end of the 5 or 7 days that you've been struggling, you come out better than when you started. Okay. So you feel like crap in the beginning. There's an internal environment that allowed you to get sick. It could be who knows what, a dysbiosis, overly acidic, whatever, in your stress levels, heat in the body. And then if you only do Western medication, which is going to provide symptomatic relief, you are not improving your health. So use this time to get better, much better. So when you come out at the end, you're way better than when you began. Does that make sense? Yes. And I see this time and time again. I'm in the middle of helping a relative right now who just had oral surgery, and they gave us a bunch of stuff to take, which was a wonderful experience. But we are not doing that. We're doing targeted micronutrients. And what I see happening in her health is that every day she's getting better, stronger, more resilient, eliminating the inflammation from the inside out. So it's like, if you're taking, let's say, ibuprofen as an anti-inflammatory, what happens is it pushes it down while it works. It wears off, it spikes back, pushes it down, wears off, spikes back. So we see this cycle. Okay. And sometimes you have to do that, especially in the beginning when you're really in pain and there's a lot of inflammation. But what you can do simultaneously is take something like turmeric or fish oils, or Salagesic is my favorite. It's made from the white willow bark, and this is what aspirin was created from. And it's a true anti-inflammatory. And so when you do that on the inside out, what's happening is the inflammation is slowly going away for real. Okay. So then at the end, you're better, you look better, your skin is clearer, your kidneys are stronger, your liver is better. Okay. So that's my little lecture for the day about all of that. I will put in my website at the end. It's jenniferwaters.net, and you can email me from there. Any questions you have, okay? I promise to respond. Eventually, I get to it all, and I have some wonderful helpers who can also assist in getting back to you, okay? So, improving egg quality and preventing pregnancy loss during the second half of your cycle. I'm just going to merge the two together, the ovulation phase and the luteal phase, so that we know there's the four phases, right? But let's just think of these second two as the second half, okay? So I think it is probably the most important phase. Why? Because there's the most opportunity for issues during this time. Why? Because that's when there's an abundance of qi in blood. Now, these are traditional Chinese medicine terms. And when we have an abundance, we also have an opportunity for things to get stuck, to not move well. Okay. So this is also the time. So this is the liver time, right? The liver in Chinese medicine is most connected to the uterus. Okay. If you have issues with your uterus, whether it's lining issues or painful periods or fibroids, this all goes back to the liver, and the gallbladder. We overemphasize the liver, but the gallbladder is one of the extraordinary meridian channels, organs in Chinese medicine. And I'm going to do a whole talk on that because I've been doing research because of you all are inspiring me to think more deeply about how the body works in terms of fertility in particular. And this is a fascinating body of knowledge. And so we overemphasize the liver. I want to put the gallbladder up equal to the liver, maybe even just a little bit higher because of its role in the production of bile, otherwise known as the liquid gold, the elixir of immortality, possibly even to help. This is true anti aging. When you get your digestive system functioning better, and your gallbladder is doing what it was meant to do and it's unencumbered and it is producing bile and you've done a lot of purification practices, the bile is not loaded with heavy metals, other toxins, bacteria. Now you are able to produce high quality eggs and your uterus becomes very strong because it's a more stable condition. Okay. So this second, the luteal phase, is also the time to keep progesterone levels up. I've always said this. I'd love to do a study of what happens when we use the PIO shots with bioidentical progesterone cream. No one ever tells me, oh, I'm doing progesterone and oil shots and I feel like $1,000,000. No, they always say my ass hurts. I'm glad it's helping me, but remember, progesterone is the happy hormone. You should be feeling good during this time. Whenever you're introducing progesterone in the body, you should feel great. Okay. So if you're not, then let's debate, think about adding in some bioidentical progesterone cream to help you during this time so that one of the side effects is you're feeling better, you're sleeping better, your mood is better, you don't have PMS. Okay. Irritability. And you cannot, the way it was explained to me, you cannot overdose with progesterone. So why not do more? Do both. Okay. I don't see how it would be harmful. We can also put together a list of foods for you that are naturally high in progesterone. We could also think about targeted supplements that increase progesterone naturally during this time. Okay, so remember, there's two things that we want to avoid during the luteal phase, right? And it comes back to symptoms, which I'm going to get into for a minute. So, what are the two things that can cause a decrease in egg quality and also miscarriage? Okay, what are those two things? One, toxins. All right, you know, I say this all the time. I can't help it. I'm doing tons of research on toxins in our environment, in our food, in our water. It's depressing. I don't want to just be the bearer of bad news, but it is serious now, folks. You have to clean up your environment. You have to use what power we have as consumers to buy the good stuff. You have to get good at reading labels. You have to be aware whenever there's been a rebrand, that could mean a reintroduction of ingredients that we don't want. Okay. So we have the toxins in our environment, we have the toxins in our food, and then we have the toxins of the things we're using. Shampoo, makeup, toothpaste. Please, please, please take a look of what you're using and stop buying poison. Okay. The other thing is heat, excess heat. Now, remember, heat is a byproduct of toxins, right? If you're having night sweats, hot flashes, irritability, these are all signs of heat. What causes that? Toxins do. They cause our liver to not function well. And heat, sweating, all of that is a symptom that the liver is working overtime. Okay. Think about your liver in terms of the tires being stuck in the mud in your car. They're going like this. You're not going anywhere. That is true stasis. That is truly being stuck. And what happens? Heat rises. What happens? The egg is released from the follicle into this environment that we don't know the quality. Remember, your follicular fluid is a reflection of your whole body, mind, spirit. And if there's a lot of heat in the body, what's going to happen to that egg? Bam, it will be affected. Okay. This is a very sensitive process. Okay. The endocrine system is very sensitive. It is easy to influence one way or the other. So we want to keep ourselves cool. Relying on air conditioning all the time is not helping our nervous system. Why? Because we have to adapt to the environment we're in. Remember, we didn't evolve with air conditioning. We evolved with shade and airflow and keeping the body cool. So if you're constantly in a controlled environment, you lose that internal thermostat, that ability to adapt. And that honestly creates more heat in the body. So it's interesting. I don't want to go on a whole big tirade about that. It's one of my personal issues. Um, okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the patterns of the liver. You can be aware. Those of you that are working with acupuncturists or naturopaths, please get a diagnosis. I ask everybody in the clinic that comes in that I see on Tuesday, my favorite day of the week, what's your diagnosis? When they usually say, oh, PCOS, endometriosis. Okay, are you working with an acupuncturist? Yes. What did she or he diagnose you with? Nothing. That's 95% of the time what I hear. That's not acceptable, folks. I need you to ask the practitioners that you're working with, what is my pattern of disharmony? What is my differential diagnosis? If only for you to become aware in your mind, oh, I have liver qi stagnation. What does that mean? Well, it means you can start doing research based on yourself. You know that the bioelectrical aspect of your body is a little stuck. So what are you going to do to get that unstuck? There's lots of things. You can tap, you can breathe, you can move, you can use phototherapy. Okay, you can use Chinese herbs, you can use functional medicine, supplements, whatever. But knowing what you're doing is the first step to helping yourself. So please encourage your practitioner to come up with a diagnosis. No one is textbook. I understand it's a challenge. It is. We all have multiple things going on simultaneously. But, anyways, try to put together the puzzle of you, the picture of you. So years ago, I took the acronym PMS and turned it into pretty much sane. Okay, so what does that mean? I feel that, like I've said this a million times, everything in our body begins and ends in the thought feeling realm. Okay, by the time it becomes a symptom, that means our thoughts and our feelings have been knocking ever so subtly on our door and we have chosen to ignore it, or you're young enough to know the body's resilient, oh, this will pass, and it usually does. It doesn't in your 30s, 40s, 50s, but when you're younger you can ignore things and the body moves on, right? So pretty much saying it's the time when women get their feelings out for the first time. We think, oh, she's acting crazy. She's a witch today because of PMS. No, she's actually has enough energy and force behind the feeling to say it. So I encourage everybody, get your feelings out, talk to a friend, do a journal every day, whatever it takes. Remember, feelings are not based in reality. There's no logic. So there's no wrong feeling. Okay. Whatever you feel is correct, but get it out because the issue is in the tissue, remember, and it starts in the feeling realm. So you got to move that energy, right? Okay, so here are the four patterns with the liver that affect the uterus and what's going on with your fertility. Liver qi stagnation, right? This is painful menses, painful urination, and painful intercourse. If you have any of those, you know for sure you have liver qi stagnation, sometimes called stasis. Well, chi becomes stagnant, blood becomes stasis if you want to be a Virgo about it. So liver blood stagnation is dark clots in your menstrual flow. This is the first stage of fibroids. Okay. So fibroids are just a continuation of that blood stasis pattern. So the sooner we treat ourselves with these early on symptoms, we're actually preventing issues like fibroids, like endometriosis later on. Painful, okay, blood stasis, dark clots, amenorrhea, which is a lack of a period, is also a part of that blood stasis pattern. Fibroids, I already said that, and bladder. You'll hear a lot in Chinese medicine. Bladder issues are associated with the uterus, which all goes back to the liver, remember. Why? Because the bladder sits on, no, the uterus sits on top of the bladder. I mean, not 100%, but if you look at there's some images are better than others that show issues in the uterus, boom, press on the bladder, and then the bladder becomes stagnant and it can't do its job well. And then we get things like cystitis, interstitial cystitis, and UTIs, and all of this. All of this can be treated, folks, with natural approaches. Okay. So that is the good news. Okay. Excess heat in the liver. Remember, toxins create heat. And so if you're having either excess bleeding in irregular times, right? So we call it breakthrough bleeding. That could be from excess heat, or you're having excess heat during your period, like heavy flow. Again, it comes back to clearing heat, strengthening the spleen, but ultimately treating the liver. The last pattern is damp heat in the liver, and this is cystitis. I want you to think of your basement that gets flooded and you're drying it out as much as you possibly can, but it continues to rain every other week. The dampness is very, very challenging to remove from the bladder, which is like the basement in your body. So it can be a little tricky. I do recommend, if you have chronic either cystitis or UTIs, I want you to do some cranberry every day, not with high fructose corn syrup. That is another toxin. Please beware. But you can buy the cranberry, the pure stuff. It's very sour, which is good. You're exposing yourself to all of the different flavors. You're waking up your taste buds, but we also have it in tablet form. You can take that every day. It's affordable. It's easy to do. Ovarian cysts are also part of the damp heat pattern. Okay. And herpes. Remember, there's some theories out there that say herpes, it's actually an endogenous. We all have viruses and bacteria in us, right? That's not the issue. The issue is the terrain and what allows them to surface and become symptomatic. By the time things come out, that means we're in an extreme situation, right? Internally, our terrain has been tipped. The scales are tipped. So herpes are one of the things that come out. Don't be ashamed. Don't worry about it. There's lots of ways to get. There's all different kinds of herpes also in the rife world. So let's just deal with it. We can address it. You can improve. I've seen it time and time again. I've seen miracles occur in the clinic. It's really an honor to be involved with health and healing at this time, because there's amazing information out there. We only really hear about the bad news from the news. So don't try to not get too involved with the news. Stay focused on the solutions and what is working. So just in a nutshell, the ovulation phase, we're going to move the chi, move the blood. The luteal phase, remember now we're preparing during that final phase for implantation, which is going to happen later or during that time, obviously. We're going to boost the chi and boost yang, okay? So we need to give the body energy. But if you're overrun with symptoms of PMS and night sweats and all of that, then we have to treat that. So we're hoping to not treat you symptomatically. We're hoping to get more into the deeper layers of real health so the symptoms don't arise. Right. I hope that makes sense. Yes. So, phototherapy wise, what I like during this time, YH glutathione. You can visit my blog. I did a whole talk on the role of glutathione. It is an aspect of every single cell, it is the queen of antioxidants. We want to get our body to endogenously increase our glutathione levels. That is going to help you with the terrain and help you with everything. There's a study I'm going to share with you soon too about well, this is stem cells and preventing miscarriage. The YH Eon patch, that's the anti-inflammatory patch. Why not stick it on, take down inflammation? If you're over the age of 35, this is a good time also to increase your stem cells. You can either do it with the X39 patch. There's also, if you Google, I found a whole list of foods that increase the GHK-Cu copper peptide, which is how stem cells are produced. So imagine if you combine, I'm a Pisces, so I like to combine things. So whether it's targeted micronutrients with phototherapy, bam, now you're going to have a much more effective approach to increasing your health, or diet, right? Those, just adding in a couple key foods that we know increase these peptides. Peptides are a lot of the new research we're reading about coming in from Germany. It's fascinating what's happening. Really good stuff. And when you combine those two, you're really doing good. So remember, we're preparing now for the future. Okay. And I'm going to just end with one quote about the gallbladder that I read this morning. Remember, in Chinese medicine, the gallbladder is one of the extraordinary meridians. It's also considered one of the spiritual meridians, which is really interesting, I think. The gallbladder is the only yang meridian, yin yang, to wrap around the genitalia and connect to the brain via gallbladder 20, which is right back here. Okay. So I'm going to say there's a lot of funny things we could say about that in terms of men already know that. Of course, there's a connection from the genitalia to the brain. Obviously, women know that too. But this channel in particular, which is one of the longest and most complicated meridians in the body, does a lot for us, and it helps with our reproductive organs in ways that we don't often talk about, and it goes directly into the brain, which is the true anti-aging. All right, so thank you for your interest in health. I'm going to be going off now to work, and have a wonderful day. Remember to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. And I'm going to try to put something in the chat here. Oh gosh, I sure wish I was better at this. I'm going to say goodbye to Facebook so that I can try to do something on Instagram. Hydrosalping. Okay, goodbye everyone. Take care.